Chapter 26. Power, Wealth, and Knowledge. 1982 and 83. The Municipal Government Reception Office, operating discreetly within the Bureau of Government Affairs, was no typical administrative entity. Though seemingly unassuming, it was the unseen force behind Shanghai's most distinguished visitors. From the moment a foreign dignitary or a central party and high-ranking government official arrived in Shanghai, we managed or coordinated every aspect: accommodation, meals, transportation, receptions, and sightseeing. However, we weren't merely event planners. We represented the mayor directly, and that made all the difference. Over the years, our unique position transformed us from mere staffers into trusted political insiders. We didn't merely manage logistics, we skillfully navigated the most delicate political landscapes. Our environment demanded secrecy, precision, and control, where a single error could reverberate to the highest levels. The role required perfection but granted extraordinary access in return. We were the gatekeepers to Shanghai's 10 most luxurious hotels, venues off limits to the general public and only reachable with official clearance. Need airplane tickets? Require railway reservations? How about foreign currency quotas? We were the first point of contact. In post-cultural revolution China, these tools transcended convenience. They represented genuine power. Shanghai had just begun to recover from years of turmoil characterized by an economy marked by scarcity. This scarcity fostered a hierarchy, and those able to facilitate access, those managing the flow of resources, held influence that extended well beyond their formal positions. In China, where everything operates on guanxi relationships, connections, subtle gestures, and hushed introductions, reception work was much more than just hospitality. It was political maneuvering. From 1981 to 1991, I served under three of Shanghai's most powerful leaders: Mayor Wang Daohan, then Mayor Jiang Zemin, and finally Mayor Zhu Rongji. When I first entered the Jinjiang Hotel, I was only 22, still fresh from military service. By the time I left government at 32, I had earned the reputation of a veteran of 3 mayors among inner circles, a subtle mark of trust, seniority, and discretion. My primary duty involved managing the city's reception and logistics for high-ranking officials from Beijing and provincial capitals. This included overseeing the authorizations needed to access Shanghai's elite hotels, a privilege reserved for those with a letter from our office. For almost 10 years, I held the stamp, issued the approvals, and determined who could access the city's most prestigious venues. However, my influence reached beyond mere check-in counters. I also had an unexpected secondary role, overseeing food safety inspections at high-end hotels. Initially, it seemed ridiculous. I lacked experience in food science and had no training in public health. Yet there I was, clipboard in hand, inspecting kitchens alongside officials from the Shanghai Health and Epidemic Prevention Station, striding back and forth through swinging doors in some of the city's most luxurious establishments. Strangely, these experienced hotel managers, most of whom were twice my age, showed me almost laughable respect. They guided me through each kitchen like a VIP every other week, bowing slightly as they presented their sanitation records. Why? I didn't solely represent the inspection team. I was the face of the Shanghai municipal government. The kitchen inspections prioritized asserting authority over hygiene, reminding these establishments that their legitimacy stemmed from us, regardless of their opulent surroundings or high-profile clientele. Moreover, a surprising perk emerged. For nearly a decade, I had the pleasure of savoring the finest dishes at Shanghai's premier hotel restaurants, often in the company of some of the nation's most prominent personalities. The genuine dealings of politics unfolded at those tables, rather than in offices or boardrooms. Influence flowed alongside shared moutai. Agreements were quietly negotiated amidst bites of abalone. Alliances were solidified with the clinking of glasses. This hidden political drama in Shanghai flourished amid the rich flavors and aromas of intricate 8-course meals, expressed not through policy papers, but through laughter, exchanged looks, and traditional toasts. My presence indicated a significant shift in this environment. Director Hu was not merely indulging his passions, but preparing me for something greater. One evening, I was tasked with attending an exclusive cultural performance alongside Shanghai's elite officials at the prestigious Shanghai Exhibition Center, the very place where, months earlier, I had been mixing paint with my hands. I sat directly behind the city's most powerful leaders in the 5th row. First Party Secretary Chen, Second Party Secretary Hu, and Mayor Wang himself occupied the 4th row. Traditional music filled the hall as the performance began, and a troupe of dancers moved elegantly across the stage. Rather than focus on the performance, Secretary Chen leaned forward, his eyes narrowed in impatience. He pointed towards the stage, whispering to Mayor Wang across Second Secretary Hu.
"What is the meaning of this dance?"
he inquired. A few minutes later, he asked again,
"What kind of music is this? What message are they trying to convey?"
Mayor Wang stayed poised and calm, responding with brief, diplomatic answers that were sufficiently vague to sidestep any potential conflict. Second Secretary Hu, caught in the middle, said nothing. He gazed ahead like a statue, his lips sealed and his posture tense. The atmosphere was palpably uncomfortable. Chen and Hu appeared noticeably relieved as the curtain fell, as though the performance had been a weight on their shoulders. The mayor, however, retained an air of grace. In that instant, it dawned on me that culture creates divisions even among the most influential. Art, music, and beauty are not universally valued. Some leaders genuinely appreciate them, others feign interest, and some exhibit indifference. That night, I discovered something more significant than any protocol or policy. I witnessed the real personas behind their titles. I realized that true power transcended hierarchy. It involved taste, restraint, curiosity, and the capacity to stay composed while others grew restless. By any standard, I had secured the most desired role in Shanghai. For many, this would have marked the culmination of their journey. For me, it was merely the start. It happened all at once. One evening in late 1982, we received news that deeply unsettled us. Our long-lost aunt from Taiwan had arrived in Shanghai. When she finally showed up at our door, it felt surreal, as if a ghost had emerged from the past. For my mother, it must have struck like a knife to the heart, unearthing the buried sorrow from my father's death a decade earlier. As for me, I couldn't help but see my father's face again, his tired, tearful eyes as he lay in bed, clutching letters from Taiwan, yearning for the family he had lost forever. At just 17, my aunt left Shanghai. Illiterate and afraid, she went to Taiwan to reunite with her older brother, who had been drafted into the nationalist army that fought the communist army. She said farewell to my father, believing it was a temporary separation. In reality, that was the last time she ever saw him. Her brother, my uncle, lost his life in the Kinmen bombardment in 1959. She married a post office worker, created a humble life, and raised 3 children. After many years, she returned, not through official channels, but by taking a perilous illegal route via Hong Kong, entering the country quietly and discreetly, or so she thought. The party was indeed transforming. The gates were slowly and quietly opening. Although the government remained silent about this publicly, preparations for new partnerships were underway. With an urgent need for funds, China pinpointed its sources: Hong Kong, Taiwan, and overseas Chinese communities. She was one of the first signs of this shift, unaware of her own significance. With tears streaming down her face, she held us tightly, her hands shaking as she repeatedly touched ours, as if to reassure herself that we were real. Then, in a swift, almost apologetic gesture, she dug into her bag and pressed crisp US $100 bills into our palms. We were taken aback. It felt wrong, almost criminal. As she surveyed our home, she kept whispering,
"So hard. Your lives are so hard."
The meaning was unmistakable. She was heartbroken by our poverty, and she wasn't wrong. My mother, once one of the most educated women of her time, had a state-assigned position. I reached a senior role in the Shanghai government, yet we resided in a crammed suite and relied on ration coupons, and my aunt saw it the moment she walked through our door. My aunt left as an uneducated rural girl and returned as a wealthy relative. That night I asked my mother, "What if we take her out for dinner? How about Jinjiang Hotel, where I work?" Before I could finish, my mother turned pale, her voice shaking.
"Are you out of your mind?"
she exclaimed.
"Do you have any idea how much that costs? That's equivalent to 3 months of our salary. 3 whole months. I can't handle that."
I knew. I felt weighty, frustrated, sorrowful, and angry, yet I remained silent. She was right. A single meal at the finest hotel in Shanghai was entirely beyond our means. Somehow, my aunt's visit shattered something deep inside me, a self-satisfied illusion I hadn't even realized I was living in. I had faith in the system. I believed in my esteemed role in the government, my access to power, control over resources, and closeness to the city's elites. I thought I had succeeded, but the truth was degrading. In a communist reality, we possessed nothing. Our homes weren't ours. Our jobs weren't ours, and even our children didn't truly belong to us. The state owned everything. The term profit was seen as tainted capitalist poison, unsuitable for a true revolutionary. Ownership equated to greed, and possession raised suspicions. That's why we were impoverished. Ideas have consequences. A year later, my cousin, my auntie's eldest son, a senior journalist covering economics for the China Times, came from Taiwan. One brisk evening in Shanghai, while walking beneath the thick plane trees of Huaihai Road in the former French concession, he casually asked,
"Tell me, what exactly is a state-owned enterprise?"
I was taken aback. I hadn't anticipated that question.
"How does the government own a business?"
he asked. He pointed to a nearby fruit shop.
"Does the state set the price for every type of fruit? How can it determine which apple is good or bad? Who decides on profit and loss? What even constitutes the state?"
His questions were rapid fire, too rapid.
"How can a government oversee the entire economy? How does it regulate each transaction in a city of this scale? How does it generate revenue?"
I tried to respond, but silence followed. For the first time, it struck me I had never genuinely examined any of it. I had taken it for granted my entire life. I had supported it, defended it, and existed within it. And still, I found myself without a proper answer. "In China," I eventually stated, holding on to my only explanation, "the state owns everything. Everything is coordinated. Our thoughts are aligned. Prices are consistent. Clothing choices are similar. Everything is coordinated." As I uttered those words, they felt empty, almost ridiculous. He gazed at me, remaining quiet for what felt like an eternity. Finally, he replied,
"I don't understand."
He waved his hand around us, towards the ration lines, the uniformed workers, and the distant factories spewing smoke into the dull sky.
"The market evolves daily. Demand fluctuates. Prices rise and fall. How can your government manage all of that?"
He wasn't just directing his question at me. He was voicing what China's leaders were quietly contemplating as well. The brutal truth was that the government didn't know, and it didn't control the economy. It stifled it. For decades, the party had denounced capitalism as evil. Now, it was being forced to court. Reform and opening up had commenced. The same government that previously banned private enterprise was now opening up opportunities. The ideology that had denounced ownership was now cautiously reinstating it, termed socialism with Chinese characteristics. This was the only way forward. I noticed the fissures. I recognized the inconsistencies. But what could I do? I was entrenched in the system, still ascending the ranks, still benefiting from the perks, and still dining in lavish hotels while regular citizens queued for cooking oil and cloth vouchers. Indeed, I had questions. Indeed, I sensed the double standards. But pondering didn't fill my stomach. Uncertainty didn't ensure my survival. I reassured myself, just as many did during that time. At least we're making progress. At least improvements are happening. Someday, it will all come together. I set aside my doubts. I kept walking through the corridors of influence despite feeling the ground shift beneath me. Even though I was already in one of the most prestigious positions in Shanghai, one that many idealized, requiring no additional credentials to advance, I still yearned for something more. I craved the world of books. The endless sea of knowledge and the boundless sky of imagination filled my thoughts. I felt a deep desire for literature, contemplative engagement, and a level of inner freedom that no lavish banquet or official rank could offer. Yet I recognized the system I was part of. In the realm of politics, mere ambition wouldn't suffice. Ultimately, I believed that higher education, at least theoretically, would become necessary. During that period, Shanghai's universities started offering evening classes and televised courses for individuals who had missed the opportunity to attend college during the Cultural Revolution. But I wasn't interested. Many of these programs offered associate degrees in practical fields such as economics, accounting, or law, which failed to inspire me. I didn't want to learn merely to navigate the system. Instead, I longed for a deeper purpose in my education. In 1982, East China Normal University introduced a new self-study program in Chinese language and literature. It was everything I had ever desired. A recognized bachelor's degree, entirely self-paced. A genuine academic qualification, neither a shortcut nor a makeshift solution. Most importantly, it focused on literature and language, the subjects I cherished most. It felt as if this program had been designed just for me. The moment I heard the news, I rushed to register. From that moment, everything shifted in my life. Throughout the day, I served the government, dining in luxurious hotels and hosting foreign dignitaries as part of my duties. At night, I would settle under a solitary lamp at my desk, immersing myself in Tang poetry, memorizing Western literary works and concepts, dissecting modern Chinese literary works, and hand-copying excerpts to sharpen my intellect and writing skills. It became a quiet, personal marathon. Every 6 months, I sat for the national exams one after another without telling a soul. Not even my closest colleagues at the reception office knew. I wanted it to be a secret, a surprise, a gift I would give to myself when the day came, the degree in hand, a declaration of effort and perseverance, not just to the party, but to my younger self. This wasn't just for knowledge, it was a strategy as well. A potential stepping stone toward future political promotion. I was quietly building something page by page, night after night. One afternoon, a new colleague, Mr. Wang, joined the reception office. He was quiet and reserved, but from the first time he greeted me, there was something familiar. I couldn't place it. Then, one day during lunch, he walked over to my desk with a knowing smile.
"Little Yang," he said, almost teasingly, "do you know why you were chosen to work at the Shanghai municipal government?"
I looked up, surprised. "No, why?" He grinned, his eyes gleaming with unspoken mischief.
"Because of your handwriting."
I blinked. My handwriting? He nodded slowly, as if revealing a long-kept secret.
Do you recall? I was the one who assessed your military discharge records. That year, thousands of soldiers returned to Shanghai. Most of them were assigned to bus companies or factories. Yet you were chosen to join the city government.
Oh, I was reminded. He was the one to brief me at the municipal government building.
Your party membership application, your self-evaluation, and your handwriting. They were elegant and confident. Looking at your file, I paused. I thought that whoever wrote this must be different. I personally flagged your name.
I sat in silence. Handwriting had followed me all my life, sometimes as a curse or a miracle. It had once nearly gotten me on the verge of the death penalty. And yet here it was again, quietly carving a path through the walls of bureaucracy. I thought back to my years in the army, my application for party membership, every sentence I had ever written on official forms, and every statement I had signed. Your pen could become a key or a witness. It began with a favor, one of many I handled as part of my job. I arranged accommodations for visiting officials around China, quietly building relationships with the powerful figures who ran Shanghai's municipal government. Over time, these small favors became a form of currency trust investments, accumulated like quiet capital. One afternoon, the director of the Archives Bureau stopped by my office. He needed help securing a hotel suite for a distinguished guest, the director of the National Archives Bureau. I made the arrangements. Shanghai Mansion, one of the city's most prestigious, and everything went smoothly. As he turned to leave, the archives director paused, his tone casual but knowing.
"You should come by sometime,"
he said.
"We've been reviewing some classified documentary films. Very rare, very sensitive. Hardly anyone gets to see them. You might find them interesting."
There was something in how he said it, half invitation, half warning. He knew that I had a deep passion for history. A few days later, curiosity got the better of me. I took time off and went to the Shanghai Archives Bureau. I was escorted into a small, dimly lit screening room. The room was silent. The projector whirred to life. And then my world cracked open. Grainy, flickering footage appeared on the screen. It was a documentary on the Cultural Revolution. Within seconds, I was transported back in time. But this was no textbook history. This was raw, unfiltered, unedited truth captured on film and sealed away from the public eye. I sat in stunned silence as horror poured across the screen. Crowds rampaged through temples and libraries, smashing ancient relics, torching scrolls, and reducing thousands of years of civilization to rubble. Mobs marching through the streets, waving banners, shouting slogans eyes wide with hatred. Children standing in front of massive crowds, denouncing their own parents with rehearsed venom, eyes burning with borrowed conviction. Teachers dragged from classrooms, their heads shaved, dunce caps forced onto them, made to kneel on broken glass. Individuals were brutally assaulted, displayed as offenders, crammed into sewage barrels, and scorned by their communities. And then the executions, public, swift, ruthless. And worst of all, the suicides. Renowned intellectuals, once the pride of China's academic circles, were now pushed to the edge, choosing death over degradation. Leaping from rooftops, jumping into rivers, hanging from ceiling beams, disappearing quietly, one by one. The images hit like thunderbolts, unrelenting. I couldn't breathe. It wasn't just history anymore. It was a memory, my memory. I had lived through this. I had walked these streets as a child. I had seen the crowds, the chaos, the madness. I had heard the chants, memorized the slogans, swallowed the fear. But now I saw it with adult eyes, and I saw something I had never dared to see before. We had done this, not foreign invaders, not devils from abroad, not some distant abstract force. Us, our people, our neighbors, our classmates, our families. And suddenly the question I had never dared to ask screamed, what turned us into this? The answer crushed me. It wasn't just Mao, not just the party. It was all of us. It was what we allowed ourselves to become. And I was no exception. For the first time in my life, I understood the concept of guilt, deep, collective, inescapable guilt. We were all guilty. We all committed the crime. Tears streamed down my face. I didn't stop them. I couldn't. The lights came on. No one said a word. We sat there in silence, as if still trapped in the footage, our minds unable to return to the present. In the days that followed, I asked about the film. The reply was clear. Safeguarded within the vaults of the Shanghai archives, it was not accessible to the public. The proof needed to be concealed, and the cruelty required to be obscured. This page must be turned. And I went back to my duties, returning to the reception office, back among banquet tables and visiting dignitaries, back into the refined halls, where power whispered through delicate porcelain while laughter resonated across wine glasses. However, a fracture had emerged, profound, unseen, and irrevocable. The truth is something you cannot unsee.